薄いのアホ。
プリズムとメイクアップカードレディー。
Welcome to Shojo and Tell, where we discuss shoujo manga and tell who's hot and who's not, talk about themes, and just generally geek out. Today, July 11th, 2021, we'll be shoujo and telling about volumes 9 through 15 of Hana-Kimi by Hisaya Nakajo. I'm your host, Ashley McDonald, and I'm joined by Ashley Hawkins. Hello again, fellow Ashley.
Hello once again, fellow Ashley.
Oh my goodness. It's ashes to ashes, but not the normal way that I do. Only people who have prefix ash are allowed on this podcast. No, not true. Okay. Well, we're back for the middle third of Hana-Kimi, so I feel I must tell the listeners that if you have not read Hana-Kimi, I don't think you want to listen to this episode. You might want to listen to the first episode, but not this one, okay? Like, we're going to spoil the things, all of them. We're just going to walk through the stories this time and give you all them low down on our feelings, the nitty-gritty of our feelings. So prepare yourselves, everybody.
Yeah, I don't think it would make any sense anyway if you didn't read it.
Yeah, it's just like, what gobbledygook are you talking about? Because this manga is certainly of a time that I don't think, this is not the era of shoujo manga we're in anymore, you know? So, it's of a time and of a place, and if you're not of that time and place or know of it, you're just confused.
Yeah.
How I feel about it. All right, so yeah, I assume this episode is gonna be shorter than the first one. I'm sure that I've immediately cursed it, but you know, all right, we're gonna walk through the larger story beats. There were also a bunch of shorter ones, so we might touch on those if we have some feelings to say. I know at least one of them I was like, I do have feelings, so we'll probably talk about that one. But otherwise, this manga is a sitcom, so we're gonna do it. We're gonna jump into the hijinks. Okay, I tried to break this down logically. Don't know if I worked it out, but story beat number 1, which kind of we were I guess in the middle of the last chapter that we had read before these volumes also was started it, I guess. But Nakatsu has been accused of cheating by a teacher who has become drunk on his own power. I guess he's like, I've been appointed to a temporary position and I must get everybody to obey me. And yeah, in the end, you find out that that's because his brother had died when he was young for being reckless and not listening to, his Oni-chan. And he still carries that around with him. And in explaining that all makes sense, but I do have to say that while I was reading it, I was so confused, tonally what was happening.
Yeah, this storyline, it just any storyline, because I'm a school librarian, so I'm a teacher also. I was an English teacher for basically a decade before I became a school librarian. So anything about a teacher being drunk on power and using it too much to discipline students really gets me, because I've seen it, I've lived it, and it's never that simple. Oh, you have little brother problems, and acknowledging it makes it go away.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. The end of that was so fast, and I was like, wait a second. What? It took 3 pages. He's like, you're right. I did confuse you with my little brother, Nakatsu. I'm sorry. You're free now. I'm like, what? No, that's not how this works.
It's you've been actively bullying the entire student population and targeting them for things like the way they wear their hair and also all sorts of things that and in contrary to the contract that is put forth between the school and the students. And I'm like, but it's all good. And then he's portrayed as he's mentioned several times later as the chaperone on trips and almost a mentor to Nakatsu. And it's what is going on?
Yeah, now they're best friends. I'm like, no. Nakatsu had like a full-on meltdown over this guy. Like, that's where I was like, I don't understand how emotionally I'm supposed to feel about this, because they treated it as like so weighty in the beginning, and I was like, this is very dramatic and dark for this manga, and I don't know how I'm supposed to be feeling right now.
Yeah, I will say, like, that moment of, like, Nakatsu being very vulnerable about a teacher not believing him and everything, that resonated to me as, like, very believable to, like, how teenage boys actually are.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is actually really relatable. But then it all just kind of gets, like, he had one moment of super drama because I really wanted, it's almost like, Nakajo was like, I want to have a moment where Nakatsu cries. And he cries really intensely.
It was so intense.
And then it's all good. We're back to happy, fun times with modeling right after, so.
Yeah. I was just like, what? Like, Nakatsu just had a total meltdown. Like, oh my goodness. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would be very annoyed in Nakatsu's position for sure. Like, if a teacher didn't believe me and I absolutely hadn't done something, I would just be screaming. Like, honestly. Be screaming about my innocence and stuff. Like, oh my goodness. Yeah, so that story beat was super weird. And then Kitahama, the teacher, just like fades into the background again. Like, he's not been important in like 5 of the volumes that we read, probably.
Yeah, he gets over it, and I guess he's just a cool teacher now.
He's got a cool teacher now, yeah. Everybody, he's like, I realize my mistakes, and I'm like, that is not how trauma works, but sure.
Yeah, there was no restorative justice circle where everybody had to come together and work through it. No, he just acknowledged,
was the Cherry Blossom Alliance not the restorative circle?
I think that's what they were supposed to be, but then Sano just comes in with his hot tip, and they didn't have a chance to even do that, like, work through it. Like, they just were like, oh, good. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah, so this manga is just all over the place emotionally. I was like, am I supposed to cry now? I don't understand. I think I think I would have liked it to be like this darker episode if it wasn't handled so patly at the end, but whatever. Yeah. That's fine. As you said before, then it leads to modeling. So I guess they like go on a school trip somewhere in here, but like, is that a story? I don't know. They went on a school trip, and a bunch of girls took a picture of them, and they put it in like a gossipy rag or whatever, as they called it, magazine. But then everybody has tracked it back to which high school that they go to, so they're like attracting all these girls to campus, and the teachers have noticed. But then also a professional photographer has noticed and is like, you guys are hot. Like, let's make you some real models. And specifically, this is Sano, Nakatsu, Mizuki, and Nanba, which, like, that's a crew, sure. Nanba's just there, I guess. Why not? Yeah, so this guy is named Akiha, and he's, like, a really famous photographer, apparently, and he likes to mess with everybody's favorite character, Umeda, because he's bisexual. So he's all like, Umeda, kiss me, and Umeda's like, get off of me. Like, I do not like you. Anyway, that's a side bit to this. Yeah, so they go model and they learn things about how makeup, like, brings out your natural beauty, whatever. And we meet the best character, who is Akiha's ex-wife, Ibe, who works as, like, one of his assistants and doing makeup art. And I'm like, yes, this woman is actually the Haruhis of Horon, like, straight up, you know?
Like, I feel like what Ebi's supposed to be is, like, you know, what Mizuki is supposed to be when she's older. Like, this is like a trajectory for her almost, and that's what we're supposed to get. Like, we're supposed to get like this mentor sort of vibe. Like, you know, she's the one who's kind of like saying, like, you know, gender. Ugh.
Gender. Ugh. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Yeah, she gives us the good old gender rant of being like, I think it's wrapped up in how she's like, Akiha is the only one who saw me as a full person. And it was so refreshing. So, like, we got married, but that was wrong. You know, like, that didn't really work out, but it was still good, and we're, like, good friends and everything. And she's like, I want to be seen as more than just a girl and all these things. And I was like, yes, here is my character. Here it is. The one I love in every manga. Because she's still, you know, feminine. Like, she's like, yes, I'm a makeup artist. I like being a woman. But she's also like, get out of here, guys. Like, yeah, I did nude modeling and whatever. You know, like, it doesn't... Don't stereotype me.
Yeah, and it's good to see a character like that as sort of a mentor role, like being shown as like she is a full, complete person. She's portrayed as a person who has her stuff together, and like somebody that Mizuki wants to be almost. Like, I want to be like that. I want to have that kind of focus, that kind of drive, and know that about myself.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, later she like literally becomes, you know, I mean, I guess we can cross stories. Why not? So, you know, like later Mizuki has a brief stint where she works for Akiha and is basically how Eb, yes, Eb's assistant. And that's when they talk some more because like Mizuki for some reason is hooked on like stuck on how she doesn't have a dream for what she wants to be or anything, and she's like, how do I like find this? And I think, yeah, I'm just like, you just want to be Ebi though. You know.
Yeah. Like, that's the person that she, like, you know, there's an instance where when she's acting as an assistant that Ebi like makes a mistake, and Mizuki like really wants to jump in there and like rah, 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 and do her usual thing where she just jumps to her friend's defense. And
Relatable.
it's like it was also like, I like how the photography studio is like this learning place for Mizuki, like where Akiha is able to like say, no, Mizuki, she's gotta deal with this herself. Sometimes people have to deal with their own problems. You can't just go charging in for them sometimes it's gonna make it worse.
Yeah, this reiterated kind of a classic, like the thing that I got from the Vision of Escaflowne, which is my most like formative anime, like my first anime to anime, really, you know? The lesson in that was definitely like at one point they're like, it takes more courage to believe in someone than to like go fight with people. And I was like, yes, relearn this lesson, but in Hana-Kimi terms. That is what I'm about. But Ebi is definitely like the most intriguing character, and I'm like, no, forget about Akiha and him being bi. Like, who cares? Bring back Ebi. I feel like I learned a lot too about makeup artistry. Like, because I don't wear makeup, and I think like I get annoyed because, you know, it costs more money and like blah blah blah. But then they were like, makeup isn't designed to hide your flaws. Makeup is designed to bring out your natural beauty. And I'm like, don't. Fine. Like, you know, like, don't make me acknowledge this. Like, fine. They also looked cool when they were modeling, I guess.
Yeah, it's very late 90s, early 2000s vibes. Like, as somebody who was really into J fashion at the time, like that's really like the time period where I was getting into J fashion and like Lolita and all of that stuff. And it's like, whoa, this is very like
You're like
This comes right out of like magazines, like Fruits, like throwback. But
I
yeah,
mean, I definitely was thinking about how hard it is when you have to do things where they're not in their school uniform and they have to look cool. I'm like, it's so difficult. I think there was one chapter where, or like one point in their modeling where like Sano and Nakatsu are not wearing undershirts, and it took me so long to figure that out. Like I kept being like, "Oh my god, Nakatsu's not wearing his shirt. I can see his belly button. Oh my god, this is scandalous." I don't know. These are the weird thoughts that go through my mind. Oh goodness.
yeah.
But story number 3 is a doozy. Oh goodness.
Yes.
This is where I got the strong Oron vibes, though. This is where I was like, this is the Oron. I see it. Like, okay, so I'm just like, are there connective tissues between any of these stories? Like,
there really isn't. It's just like, hey, this is happening. It's I can see why this has become like a popular TV show in multiple countries, because it's like, this is like a perfect sitcom.
It is.
It's very like, okay, this episode, this is what's happening. This episode, this is what's happening. And don't worry.
Yeah, maybe sometimes it crosses over 2 whole episodes as like one whole arc, you know? It's like, oh, all right. Yeah, no, I simultaneously think that like it became so popular because it's so sitcom-y, but now, you know, like 20 years later, I'm like, oh, we don't do sitcoms anymore. So we're like, what is this? This episode was that they bring up that, I think in particular, Nanda, the senior, brings up that Osaka High School has a tradition that happens only once every 3 years, where they have a dance with their sister school, which is also where his aunt, who's younger than him, like goes to, like the school that Julia went to, I guess, too. Yeah. They're like, we have this fancy Christmas dance with this all women's school, and everybody has to learn how to waltz properly because we are fancy boys and girls, you know? But the sister school is like, hey, we don't actually have enough ladies to dance with all of y'all. We need to even out our numbers. So let's take some cute boys and make them learn the female parts. And of course, Mizuki is picked for that.
It's so convenient that these situations keep popping up to like make Mizuki feminine for a while. It's like, oh, but it's okay because other boys are doing it too.
It's okay. Gender is not real. Gender is all a performance, kids. Okay. Yes, so obviously so many gender hijinks ensue. The thing that popped into my mind just now was Mizuki putting the dress on, but over her binder and being like, this does not work. I guess it's not really a binder. It's like some weird vest thing. So she's like, it's just showing on my shoulders because this is a very low cut thing, you know? And I was just like, Mizuki, you had to put the whole thing on to like realize this stuff. What are you doing? I don't know. And it just like, Mizuki is confusing me now because she's like, I want to be more feminine. And I'm like, do you though? Like, most of the time I don't get that vibe. She's just like, ba-di-da-di-da.
Yeah, because even when she goes home to Berkeley, which we'll talk about next, she doesn't change her gender expression back to feminine. She stays in the same mode of dress.
Yeah. Even though, like, she doesn't know that they're there initially. Yeah, we'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But yeah, she keeps having these moments of like, oh, I want to be like, it's only she wants to be like a girl for Sano.
Yeah, like she's very excited about the possibility of dancing with Sano, but it's not like, ooh, I get to wear a dress. So, like, that stresses her out, right? Because she's like, people are gonna know that I have boobs now.
But yeah, it's like, I don't think she's as strongly, it's almost like she's like separated more from like that girliness or that tendency to believe that she needs to always be feminine. Because like there was earlier in the series where she did put on feminine clothes when her brother showed up because she was like, oh no, he can't see me in these boy clothes. But then she goes home and yeah, it's like I think she just wants to be feminine for Sano. But like for everybody else, it's like she's kind of become very comfortable in her more masculine skin in a way.
Yeah, she likes B. She's like, I want to be one of the guys. Like, if I become a girl, Nakatsu's gonna treat me like even weirder than he already does, you know? Like, what does my relationship with Nanba become if I'm not a guy, almost, you know? Like, I don't think she's, like, consciously thinking that, but that's definitely, like, she only wants her relationship, to change with Sano and doesn't necessarily want it to change with the others, which she, I guess, subtly fears that, changing her gender expression would definitely do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, like, I guess on top of the Oron vibes, because I was like, isn't there a similar, like, isn't this just, like, straight up kind of what happens at one point in Oron? Like, they have a dance and Haruhi dresses as a girl and they're like, oh my god, Haruhi's so pretty. We love dancing with Haruhi. Fun. I was like, this definitely happened.
It did. I think it happened a couple times actually.
Yeah, really.
But with that was them like finding excuses to like feminize her. But still, there definitely were.
Yeah.
This happened.
It totally happened. But yeah, I feel like this is the arc where I started to be like, well, maybe throughout all these volumes, I was like, the art has also significantly improved since the first handful of volumes where I was like, who's doing what now? What? No, it's definitely entered that like 2000s. Whenever they go chibi, I'm like, is this a clamp manga? What's happening? Where am I? I'm so confused. Yeah, I do have to admit that I was like, oh, it's so cute to see Sano and Mizuki dancing together, though.
Yeah,
really cute.
It is cute.
I like kind of hate myself for thinking that, though. I was like, you've been tricked. You fell for the trap. You fell for it. And I'm like, I'm simple. That's why I like shoujo manga. I'm like, oh, it's so cute. It's so cute.
I actually really like Tanoji, the yes, and Kana. I wish there were more of them. I think they're really cute.
They're really cute.
I love that type of pairing of like the very hyper masculine guy and the very sweet, soft, gentle, gushy person.
Yeah, and we find out that like she likes him. Like the way we find out that they'll even have possibility is that like Mizuki's talking to her, and like then we find out that she liked Tanoji, and it's like what? And I'm like yes. Amazing. Yeah, a lot of cute things happen in this arc, and I'm like, oh. It overlaps with Mizuki trying to figure out, like, she's like, oh, I have to get Sano a birthday present because his birthday is Christmas or Christmas Eve?
I think it's Christmas Eve.
Okay, yeah. So she's like, Sano's birthday is Christmas Eve. I have to buy him a present this time. I'm gonna figure it out. And then she gives him not a massager. Is that what? But it was translated that way?
Yeah. So it's a TENS machine, which is this machine that like sends electrical impulses to your muscles. Like I have one. It's not a massager, but they call it a massager. And there's this moment where he says like, "Oh, a massager. This isn't romantic." And
okay, I do think if it was a massager, I'm like, but that's pretty romantic. That's like sexy vibes going on there, like. But yeah, if it's a weird thing that like sends you not like weird, but if it's a thing that sends electrical vibes into you, like okay, maybe not as romantic.
Yeah, it's for physical therapy. So it's like Mizuki. Like that is probably legitimately helpful because we don't ever talk about it, but he is an athlete and he has an injury and everything.
What do you mean we don't ever talk about it? We talk about it every 10 chapters.
That's right. They have a conversation where it's like, hey, how's your high jumping going? It's going great.
He's back to being like top 4 in the country. How dare you?
I believe like we will start to we have an arc coming up that it actually will be relevant. But yeah, for these arcs it's like not.
Yeah, they started setting that up in the end here, but you know, whatever. Yeah, so overall this story beat was very cute, I thought, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I really liked it. Although I have to admit, I think I had more feelings about the next arc. Like, I was just like, so much is happening. Like, what's up? I'm so excited. Because in the next arc, no, this one had a logical connection. Okay, so you know, they had their Christmas shindig waltz thing. They learned to waltz. Woo, fun. It reminded me of like how we were forced to learn to square dance in middle school or something. I was like, yeah, that's what just happened here. Obviously not really the same, but that's the vibe I got. Anyway, so they learned that, but it was for a Christmas, you know, party. And so Christmas is happening, so that's naturally a holiday that is more important in America than Japan to celebrate with your family. So Mizuki's brother had sent her a note that just said, come home with some plane tickets. And she's like, oh my God, is my dad like dead? Like, I don't know. That's like such a dire message. And Sano's like, I think they would have told you if your dad was dead, you know? Like, doesn't seem like something you should wait for somebody to fly for 14 hours to like 14 plus hours for them to tell you that, you know? So she goes back and she gets there and yeah, nobody's dead. He's just like, oh, I just thought you should come home for the holidays, you little brat. You haven't been home since you went off to Japan chasing a boy. And she's like, okay, that's fair. But she thought she was going to spend the whole time in the dorm alone with Sano, where things surely would have happened. But that did not happen. So we end up in Berkeley, California, where I was like, hey, I know that place. I've been there. I lived in that San Francisco for 7 years. Let's go. And yeah, Gil was on the cover of the volume, which I was like, that's weird. Gil is the person who she, like, yeah, ran away. Which is the guy that she fell in love with when she ran away and lived with him for a couple of days. And he's supposed to look like Leonardo DiCaprio. And then it's like, surprise, he's back. I was like, what? I'm being taken for a loop here. He's back from he's like had successful surgery on his mysterious lung disease. Because, you know, if it's not a mysterious heart disease, it's a mysterious lung disease. Shojo manga. We don't have to name diseases here.
Yeah.
They're all just weird, sad things, okay? He's back. He goes to UC Berkeley. He's just like hanging out with her brother. And we get to meet her parents. Her dad is a veterinarian who's very clueless. What's her mom? Her mom is some type of dancer?
Yeah, she's like a she's a dancer. I think she's like a dance instructor now.
Yeah.
That's how they explain it.
Yeah, so we just meet all these new people and we're in America and I'm like, oh my God, tell me what you think about America. You know? It's basically how this went down. And I was like, okay. Yep, this is UC Berkeley, so we got some drag queens apparently. And, you know, there's an actual person of color happens. I'm like, yes, America.
There's actually a few of them, like, and I really like that Lisa, the one who's the assistant, she's actually really cute. Like,
yeah.
I really liked the way she was drawn.
I know. They even acknowledged it. Like, that one's really cute. And I'm like, yeah, she is cute. Bring her back. Don't just use her in this one chapter. Let her go to Japan and have fun. And bring hijinks. Justice for Lisa.
But yeah, like, there's multiple people, like, in the Happy New Year frame. There's just like all these different.
Oh yeah.
All these people who look very different. It's like, oh, you do know that America is like a diverse country, that we don't just have blonde people. You just chose to send the blonde people to Japan.
Yeah, because Japan loves the blonde people. They're like, oh my god, we don't have to give them anime hair. They already have anime hair. I don't know. No, it's just like, yeah, so I was just like having a lot of fun being like, what do they think of America? Yes, our hamburgers are very big. When you get a large, that's fair. That's a fair thing. Yeah, I love that. I told my partner, Asher, I was like, oh my gosh, Mizuki's from Berkeley. Like, we're in Berkeley right now in this point of the story because she went back to visit her parents. And he was like, that explains a little bit. Like, about how crazy this is, or like, wacky this premise is. Berkeley parents.
Yeah, like, it seems like it kind of, I think Sano makes the comment like, oh, I think I understand now, like, why you are the way you are. And it's like, you know what? So do I, Sano. Because she's really, like, her whole crew is very, like, lively and doesn't seem to, her parents don't seem to, like, care too much, like, about pretenses. They're just kind of happy-go-lucky. Her dad is apparently a bath enthusiast.
Yes, he's like, got a fancy Japanese bath.
So it's like, I get it now.
Yeah, we understand where Mizuki came from and why she was allowed to fly halfway around the world to chase a boy. Like, they don't know that she's at an all-boys school, right? But, like, they still let her go halfway across the world to, like, go to high school, right? So it's like, you don't need that extra layer for it to be a bit wacky, Oh, goodness, yeah. And I'm just like, we brought Gil back? Like, I was just so unexpected. Oh, man. I didn't like how he kept calling Japanese gibberish, though. I was like, come on, white boy.
Yeah, it's like, like, one of your best friends, like, your first crush is Japanese. You need to be a little less of a jerk about this.
Yeah, it's like, you're in the Bay Area, there's Japantown, the signs are in Japanese and English, like, deal with it, Goodness gracious.
And, like, he wants to be a mountaineer. Like, come on, my dude. You want to go climb mountains. A lot of mountains are, like, in places where they're not going to speak English to you. You're going to have to learn some other languages. Be more open-minded.
Yeah, or they'll speak English to you, but then definitely speak in whatever their native language is to, like, each other, like, other guides and stuff.
Yeah. It's like, come on, Gil.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand his frustration. Like, growing up, a lot of my friends were also of various Asian descents, more Chinese. So, like, two of my friends would, like, talk about me in Chinese, while I'm sitting there. And I'm like, all right. Like, y'all being annoying, but I was never like, Chinese is gibberish. Or at least I don't remember being. I hope I wasn't. Like, I certainly wouldn't have been by the time I was Gil's age, because he's in college. So he's just being a little annoying brat here.
Yeah. He's just jealous.
He's just jealous. Oh, being a little jealous brat. I know. This was definitely the point where I was like, no, the hijinks are too high here. Where they're like, okay, Mizuki's like, all right. Yeah, as we said, she didn't change her gender presentation. Like, she's just like, whatever. I'm wearing my hoodie. This is San Francisco. It's only like 60 degrees. Although in Berkeley it should be warmer, so like, whatever. But like, you know, she's like, I'm just wearing my masculine clothes, even though I'm walking around with Gil at UC Berkeley's campus. And then, I don't know, it's just like Nakatsu and Sano are there for some reason. Very weak excuse. Like, oh, we brought all the top athletes. The coach knows us. Like, okay, whatever, manga.
Yeah.
Whatever reason you need for this to happen, sure. But then obviously Mizuki's like, oh no, my dad's gonna call me his daughter and stuff. So she like makes it be like, you can only speak to them in English. They're practicing their English, so immersion, you know. And I was just like, oh.
I mean, that does make sense because Japanese has like the gender specific pronouns and everything. So the minute he would have addressed her in Japanese, it would have been like,
yeah.
Wait, what? At least Nakatsu would have.
Well, I think even if he like, said something like my daughter in Japanese, right? It's like, obviously they're going to understand that. She's basically just banking on them not understanding the words she, her, daughter, you know, like any, like very particular English words. And she's like, no. Which obviously works on Nakatsu because he's Nakatsu.
And Sano just apparently is perfectly fluent in English, but
he's like, I know conversational English.
Yeah.
He's in on it, but Mizuki is still not in on the fact that he's in on it. And I'm like, oh, goodness gracious. I think this was definitely, like, as fun as I had with seeing, you know, the cultures, like, what Nakajo thinks of America, like the stereotypes that have pervaded not just of America, but of Berkeley in particular, and like the Bay Area, and like it being queer, and like all these things. And I love the joke where Nakatsu's like, I thought you were from California. Lol, lol, lol. That's valid, actually. I'll accept that. You know? Yeah, like I loved all of that, but I was just like, no, I can't. Like, it's too far. You know, like with the ways that she's making them not realize that she's a girl. I was just like, I can't.
Yeah, it's pushing it. It's really pushing the premise. Like it's another instance where it only works because we know Sano knows. And I guess we just have to trust that, man, Nakatsu really is just this dumb. Like,
well, that's fair. And I can feel like Nakatsu is like, you know, it's fair not to know that much English, but Nakatsu's also like a happy-go-lucky guy, and he like wants to pretend that he knows stuff, right? Like he's like wants to feel like he's keeping up, and you know, like in his mind he is, but like he's not, right? Which like fine, Nakatsu lives in his own reality, don't we all? That's fair. But yeah, it's just like I'm like, goodness gracious, we brought together Gil, Nakatsu, and Sano. Like, I don't, it's too much. It's all too much. I hope Gil comes to Japan. That's only fair.
I can't remember if that happens. Like, so much happens in this series. Like, it's like a rediscovery as it goes on. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that happens.
Gil should get to do a study abroad. I can write this. I can write this manga, you know? Oh my gosh, I know. But yeah, it was very fun to read this and see, like, you know, queer, like we've had queer representation, but it's just like, okay, this is the Bay Area, so we gotta have some drag queens. And I was like, cool. I really like that, like, you know, there's always the stereotype in America that even though we're so diverse, you kind of like congregate into groups of people who look like you. Like, I was actually very proud that even though there is a Japantown and everything in San Francisco, that, yeah, like her parents just hang out with tons of different people. And I was like, yes, this is awesome.
Yeah, no, they seem cool. They seem like cool parents.
They do seem like cool Berkeley parents. Like, maybe too much America happened.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no, don't let your daughter do all these fantastical things, you know?
Yeah, like, your daughter's, like, rolling around on a guy every night.
Oh my
just so
gosh. Okay, wait. Actually, that's what's breaking my. Now that you brought that up, that breaks the reality because she's not gonna be wearing her vest at night. She's gonna die.
Yeah.
Her boobs are just flopping around on Sano.
Yeah. No, she's like always cuddling up to him, and that one part where she like cuddles up to him and like is apparently having a dream about how sexy he is during the photo shoot, and she's like, "Oh, you're so sexy." It's like this is too much.
Sano has to live with so much, like stuff inside of him, you know, like all the secrets that he has. He's just like. He's like, I'm a good dude, though, so it's okay.
like, he has to put up with so much. So much.
He does. I can't believe I didn't realize how breaking that would be. Like, that's definitely now I'm like, no, that's what's breaking me. Because, like, you know, just living with somebody who's trans and, like, uses binders. Like, he definitely frequently complains being like, I have to take this off now. Like, there's no way Mizuki's just like wearing it like 24/7 except when she's showering, you know, like no way. No way. Her boobs are flopping around on Sano and she's just like, cool. But he doesn't know though. He doesn't know. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, Story Beat 5 is one that we kind of brought up before where Mizuki is an assistant for Akiha and eBay. But I just thought it was so funny that Mizuki's like, in America, I always had a job. All the time. Like, I picked myself up by my 12-year-old bootstraps and spend my own money. So I try not to spend my parents' money. And I'm like, put the America back, okay? Just like, don't need this much America.
Like, it definitely was a thing at that time period. Because I remember, like, I babysat from, like, basically the time I was 10 until I got my Disney job. And so it was, like, it was a thing then. But, like, yeah, thinking about it now, like, they're just, yeah. Now we don't do that anymore.
We don't do that. I mean, like, yeah, I guess when I was younger, it was, like, I would help my dad on jobs and he would pay me sometimes because he's a general contractor. So he'd have me do like cleanup stuff or something. Or like, yeah, I walked my neighbor's dog every day, like when I got home from school and they gave me $20 a week. But it's just like, I don't know. I don't feel like that made me like super industrious, you know, like being an assistant to Akiha and them is just like way more taxing than like, you know, taking care of Yujiro. You know, like there's a difference in scale here that I didn't feel was like acknowledged normally. But that's okay. I guess in this story beat, this is where she deals with with Alex, who's like looking for a boy in Japan. Like, he's a Japanophile, but he's really just looking for a boy. I don't know. He didn't really leave an impression on me.
Yeah, it's like one of those. Just There's so much to say about it because it's like it's just kind of a thing that's going on with Mizuki. Like,
yeah, Mizuki's doing it. Whatever. It's
like, I don't think we'll ever see this guy again. Good luck finding your boy.
Yeah. Bye. and then like Mizuki doesn't have this job anymore. I don't know. So like then the next story is that in dorm 3, yes.
Yeah.
No. Dorm 1? Not dorm 2. Yeah. Like one of the other dorms, the water is out. So they're like, oh no, people can't live there without being able to take a shower and flush toilets and drink. It's not really tenable. So they're like, all right, we gotta put them all among the other 2 dorms, but temporarily. So Kadoma, who was one of the cutesy boys who had to dress up as a girl for the dance arc, comes to live with Sano and Mizuki. And they're all like, oh, okay, this one's safe, like this one's fine. No danger here. But it puts into stark relief for Sano and Mizuki, like how comfortable they become with each other and how having a third person like really messes up that groove. Because like, they both have their secrets, but like they're just like, that's just like their reality, right? Like their secrets are the default. And now it's like, oh, but a new element has appeared. And they don't know, like they don't know anything. So like it's just a really wreaking havoc on them. Because Sano's like, I know, but I can't let Mizuki know, but I also can't let Kadoma know. It's just like, oh goodness gracious. It's too much.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good tension point to have that's like baked into the story, where it's like, oh good, they can actually, like, this tension is actually something that is interesting, and watching them have to deal with it, and it is kind of shaking things a little bit.
Yeah, especially since like it's just like there's so many layers here, right? It's like, so Sano knows that she's a girl and has been attracted to her as a girl, but like Mizuki must be afraid. Like Mizuki is attracted to him as a boy, obviously, but like Mizuki must be so afraid of like, yeah, what happens when it's like, oh, well, like, we can't just sleep together when we're a boy and a girl, but it's okay as 2 dudes. And I'm like, no, like the things that you guys are doing are still weird. Like when Kadoma's like, I want to come and scrub your back in the bath. It's like, that's not weird, right? Like that's still really weird that you guys are doing that. And like in America, heteronormative boys would definitely be yelling, but no homo or something while doing that, I don't know. I was just like, this is hurting my brain at this point.
Yeah. This is a whole weird scenario, guys.
The gender is too much right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it was played for the lulz, it's just supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
But like, it's not funny to think of people coming in, interrupting your shower, seeing your boobs inappropriately. Yeah. Oh goodness. So I included this as a story beat and not a side story because it was 3 chapters, and I feel like there's so many things happening in it that make me uncomfortable. So, Nakajo was like, okay, Umeda's everybody's favorite character here. So I'm gonna tell you his backstory, but like not his full backstory. Like, but y'all are gonna eat it up because it's an Umeda story. So, we get to see him when he's an Osaka High student, and like he already knows that he's gay. And it revolves around him and realizing that he likes the like student body president, Ryoichi, because he can see through Ryoichi's good boy facade. Umeda's like, because Umeda's a very good Soon. Umeda's like so tsundere. He's all like, rah 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 rah, get off my lawn, kids. I care about you kids, though. I'm gonna give you the best life advice. Like, And he appears to have still been like that pretty much in high school, but not with like get off my lawn kids, just more like leave me alone, dumb teenagers. I have an old soul. And like I'm not on your level and I'm gay. Just like but so he sees Ryoichi and he's just like, you just pretend like you're good. You don't care about anybody and like blah 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 and you smoke, so secretly you're bad, like you're a bad boy. But there's some other boy named so Ryoichi's parents run a like a mental health clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, Ryoichi is taking care of this younger boy named Masato who's like attached himself to Ryoichi. And I'm just like, what is going on here? Did I miss something, fellow Ashley? Because I feel like I was confused.
So this is like an issue because we did miss something. There's an entire volume of one-shots that she did like before she did Hana-Kimi that she pulled Ryoichi out of and used. And Ryoichi and Masato are characters in this one-shot that has never been translated into English.
Okay, so I definitely was missing stuff.
So there's like all this context, and you can really just you can either find like an illegal fan whatever, or you can read like I found like a synopsis of it, and it's the story about a girl who comes from the countryside to live in the city, and she's like she kind of Toru Hondas a little bit. She like she's like a little mini housekeeper for a guy, and then she gets involved in like a little love triangle with the guy and also Masato. And so Masato is like a psychic, and that's his connection to Ryoichi. And it's like there's like all this context that we have no connection or understanding of, and like
that's not brought up at all in these stories.
Yeah. And apparently Masato gets with this girl from this story, so he's not with Ryoichi or whatever. So it's like, what is their relationship? We don't know.
What is their relationship?
We don't have this like original text to like guide us. It's like it's a one volume series of like short stories. You'd think that translate it like. So I had some understanding of what's going on here.
Yeah, because I was definitely like, is this some weird, like, grooming scenario? Or Ryoichi's like, oh, he's super younger than me, and I totally, like, am into him. And I was like, what is going on? I was very uncomfortable.
Apparently they have psychic powers, and that's, like, their connection, I guess. But we don't have that.
Super not acknowledged at all.
So how are we supposed to get that when we don't have, like, or you could have added it to, like, when they did the omnibus editions, they could have pulled that one shot from, it's like, there are things you could have done to give people more context, because, you know, when she did this, she had fans who had read that previous story and were like, oh, yay, character from previous thing that this author I like did, and oh boy, I get to see a little bit of what their backstory is. And
yeah. Well, I guess I got increasingly confused too, because in one of her author's notes, I think she's like, oh, people ask me all the time about like, are these people a couple? What's the relationship between like are these people? And like one of them was like Ryoichi and Masato, and I was like, and she was like, I don't want to answer, I want to leave it up to others. And I was like, I don't want to leave it up to my bad imagination, because like my bad imagination is going to the creepiest places possible, and I don't want that. Like, but then I mean the end of the story acknowledges that Masato like is married to a lady and has a child.
Yeah. So it's like, you did tell us what happened.
I know, right? Like, well, I mean, They still could have been a thing, you know? Like, that's why I'm like, I don't know.
We don't know because we're missing a big chunk of the story.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm not sure I want to know. Like, I only want to know if it's good. Right? Like, if it's what I think it is, I don't want to know that for sure. No. Yeah, but like, Umeda as Dracula was like, yeah, that's a good look for you, Umeda. You know, the funner parts of the story were like, yeah. I also was really struck by the last image of these three stories where it's Ryuichi and Umeda smoking, like with their faces facing each other, like they're trying to light each other's cigarettes with the other's cigarette. You know, I was like, yeah, that's a good summation of this whole 3 chapters, like bad boys trying to get close to each other, but having to stay apart, and like this image. I was like, all right. But overall, I was just like, I'm very confused. It's like, I guess I can only be here for Umeda, my boy, my life advice boy. So story beat 8. I was like, oh, are we getting places? I don't know because we didn't really finish it, but I'm like, oh, we gotta be getting places. You know, we're getting places. So what had happened was Nakatsu's moving the plot along as much as there's a plot. So Nakatsu goes and is like, hey, Sano, do you like Mizuki? He just like straight up asked that. And I was like, oh my gosh. What is happening? People have to acknowledge other people's feelings right now. I'm gonna lose it. And Nakatsu is the one bringing this about. This is a wild manga for sure. Okay. Then Nakatsu almost tries to push it with Mizuki being like, so if Sano said that he liked you, how would you react, Mizuki? And she's just like, what? And he's like, just kidding! Like, forget I said it. But then he feels bad because all of them act weird around each other, right? And he's like, no, but I want to still be friends with Sano. Sano's my boy, you know? Like, I need to still be friends with Sano. And, you know, they get naked together in a hot springs bathhouse and lay bare all their feelings. And I'm like, yeah, it's a metaphor. Like, they decided bros before hoes, so it's good. I love that at one point, I guess is it Sano? It must have been Sano. There's just one panel where Sano's like, all of this can't go on forever. And I'm like, I don't know. This manga seems to be proving that it can, though. Like, it definitely can. Because, yeah, I'm just like, gosh, I got to the end of 15 volumes and the premise is still holding. And I'm not used to this. Usually the shoujo manga, like, starts with a premise and then drops it 2 volumes in now and it moves on to something more interesting. And I'm like, no, it's not doing it.
Nope.
No.
The premise is here. And it's here to stay.
Oh my gosh. Now I'm just like, how long can they keep it up? Yeah. There are 8 more volumes. Does it not come out until volume 22? Like, I'm just like, now it's a game. I need to know, you know, like, it's some old school shoujo manga right here. Episodic nonsense. But I'm so proud of, you know, how do I feel about Nakatsu? Like, this is complicated. Like, Sano is boring, right? Mm-hmm. But I want him and Mizuki to be together, even though they're boring.
They work together.
Yeah,
they have a good synergy.
Yeah, like that she doesn't have with Nakatsu, but like I'm like, Nakatsu's a good boy, you know? Like, he's trying so hard. He's a sweet boy.
Yeah. He deserves somebody who is not as dense as Mizuki. Like, she's so dense. She can't even see like the potential of maybe giving him some attention.
I know. It's really rude actually because he confessed his love to her, and she just like still doesn't get it. I'm like, he said that in front of like everybody. He was so desperate to take photos with her when they were modeling and stuff, and I'm like, you are being so mean to this good boy. It's very rude. But I also am like, oh, Nakatsu, you're messing it up for Sano and Mizuki. Like, he's always interfering, right? Like, he's like, I want to take pictures while we're modeling, and I want to be Mizuki's waltz partner. And it's like, oh, Nakatsu, you're really tearing me apart here, man. Like, I love you, but also stop. Like, he reminds me of Tatsuki, kind of, in Fushigi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Same type of, like, dense, funny, like, thinks they're in love with the main character, but have no chance person.
Not even in consideration.
No consideration here. Even though he's a good boy. Good boys! Being a good boy isn't good enough, apparently. We are also picky. Gosh. I need to learn to love the Nakatsus of the world more. Like, I like him. Like, I want to be friends with him, you know?
Yeah, no, he's, like you said, he's a very good boy. Like, he tries really hard. He has, like, strong goals and...
So earnest.
He's got a lot going for him. Like I said, in the Japanese live action series, he's one of my favorite characters. Like, he really shines in live action.
Live action soccer! Okay, well, so there were a bunch of short stories. I don't really have that much to say about them, other than the one that does involve Nakatsu and his roommate, Kayashima, who is like the psychic-y one of this series, I guess.
Yeah.
He's like the occult club leader guy in Oran. Like, that's who that guy's making fun of, is Kayashima, I guess. But him and Nakatsu, I'm like, yes, I love you as friends. You are the best. You know?
Yeah, they're really cute. Like, as friends. It's like they have a good dynamic, and Kayashima's a really interesting character.
Yeah, like, again, he's weird, so people get creeped out by him and everything. And Nakatsu's like, stop picking on him. He's my roommate. He's cool. Shut up. And I'm like, that's fair. Nakatsu's a good boy. He wants everybody to be friends. Okay, so we're kind of 2/3 of the way through Hana-Kimi, I guess. Again, it's an uneven number of volumes, so rough math. But, like, how much does your heart go doki doki? Like, do you read this and be like, oh, it's so cute?
Like, to a certain extent. Like, not too much. Like, I think it's more like, just like, oh, you guys are cute. This is nice.
Yeah, it's pleasant.
Yeah. Every once in a while, like, they're nice little scenes. Like I said, I really liked Tenoji and Kana, and I think it's more like my heart will go doki doki for, like, little things, like, oh.
Yeah.
But it's not a constant, like, oh, when will Sano and Mizuki figure this out? It's like, I don't know, some point.
It's more like, gosh, when are Mizuki and Sano going to figure this out?
Yeah, now we're starting to, come on, guys.
We're cooking. We're getting somewhere, I think.
It feels like this is where the threads are starting to be pulled. Like,
yeah,
where we are getting to, they do keep saying, like, okay, this can't last forever, because honestly, this can't. This can't keep going on.
Yeah. I don't think we said earlier, but what was your favorite story of this? So many things happened.
I really like the dance. I think it is the Oran vibes, because I really love Oran, and I really love just wackiness, and like, I think Hana-Kimi is, like, at its strongest when it's more wacky, and it's just kind of leaning into, this school is really weird, and there's really weird stuff that goes on at this school, and this
And you're just gonna deal with it.
Yeah, there are weird people who go here, and weird things happen, and let's just see how this scenario plays out.
Yeah, I have to agree, just because the first story of this bunch, the cheating one, like, I feel like it was an attempt at adding levity, like, it was definitely tonally different, like, we're going in a different direction, trying something new here, and I was like, no, yeah. I'm not here for it. That's not your strength, Hana-Kimi. That's not your strength. Which one was my favorite? Like, I definitely thought the dance had the cutest scenes, but I'm just like, was my heart fully invested in it like it was in the America one? Like, I just had so much fun in the America one, even though the, like, ending, like, language thing was kind of annoying, but just, like, seeing that portrayed was just really fun for me. I think it wouldn't, I don't know, like, it is kind of fun because I lived in that area for a while, but I feel like, yeah, if it was just like, I don't know anything about California, because, like, before moving to California, I never had lived anywhere but the Northeast, basically, so I just wouldn't have had that, like, same culture thing, but it was a lot of fun for me. I was like, I still don't miss you, San Francisco, but it's fun to read about you and understand stuff. But yeah, that's the middle third of Hana-Kimi. I'm sure next time we will have to discuss so much. Mm-hmm. So many things will happen, I'm sure. And then we'll have to do a roundup of all the gender and, oh my god, the shipping corner. But that's for next time. So everybody, thanks for listening to Shojo and Tell. Comments, questions, constructive criticism, concerns. Need to gush about your OTP? Tell us what your favorite little shenanigans in Hana-Kimi are. Email shoujoandtell@gmail.com or leave a comment on the episode's YouTube page. We're at Shojo and Tell on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. Ashley, where can people find you and your work on the internet?
I'm on Twitter at manga_librarian, or I'm on YouTube as the Manga Librarian, or you can just find me at mangalibrarian.com. I've kind of cornered that.
You're like, I am the Manga Librarian.
And yeah, my content's mostly directed towards helping librarians, but I yell about manga a lot, and I also do, like, breakdowns of, like, the history of particular genres, including I have a video about the history of shoujo manga. So, if that's what interests you, check it out. Yeah.
The history of shoujo manga is something that I'm like, I should know more, and I don't. I learn everything on my podcast. I'm like, okay. I've actually been trying to, like, make a Google Doc of all the series that I've done, but list the dates that they originally ran so that I can see my coverage of time periods. So that would be fun if I ever finish doing that, everybody. Woo! But yeah, no, go learn about the actual history of shoujo manga from people who are not me. Like other Ashley. Yay! You come here to listen to me scream about ships, let's be real. Are you excited every time you see a new episode from us? If so, please consider leaving a rating on Apple Podcasts. This will help the show reach more hearts, or at least ears. Thanks again for listening. We'll be back next time for the end of Hana-Kimi. Will they finally all know that Mitsuki is a girl? I don't know when that's going to happen. I really think it might be volume 22 of 23. You'll just have to stay tuned to find out. Until then, bye.
I'm not gonna say anything.
The last chapter of volume 23.